with Table for One. I'm your host, Anthony K of Sports Fluent. Why am I the host? Because I won last week. Because I'm the best. I'm the most fluent in sports. So this week, we got OJ, Jeff, Matt, and Dub Zero. How you guys doing?
We living.
Well,
Everybody's good? All right. Listen, I told you guys we'd be starting at 9-ish. So just be around 9-ish and you'll catch Table for One every, what's today? Wednesday? Every Wednesday on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter. We're here. We're going to jump right into the first question, and it's the obvious one. 2 teams left in the NFL. Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Rams. I want to know who wins, but more importantly, why. And Dub, I want to start with you because I know you're ready. You're chomping at the bit. Who wins and why?
So this is going to get me voted out first, and it's fine because it's going to be completely worth it. Not the Detroit Lions. They're not
in it. No, they're not in it.
Win. The Los Angeles Rams are going to win mainly because of who Matthew Stafford is, Fluent. I am tired of the disrespect that you have. There's this false narrative going around saying Matthew Stafford is going to throw a pick 6. Matthew Stafford is going to make the wrong play at the wrong time. And I actually deep dived into the playoff series in his past playoff series where he was 0-3. He never threw a pick 6. He threw 3 picks in those 3 games. 2 of them came against the Saints when he was literally battling with Drew Brees, going tit for tat. He threw 1 pick in the 4th quarter with 9 minutes left. His team was down by 10. Then he threw another pick in garbage time when they was down 48-28. So, and then the 3rd pick he had against the Cowboys. Cowboys happened early in the 3rd quarter. And if you want to use that as a knock, okay, that was a bad pick. I get you. But this whole false narrative about Matthew Stafford over here throwing picks in the wrong place at the wrong time, it just needs to die, because especially a pick 6, because that hasn't even happened in the playoffs in a meaningful game. So they're going to win because that's why they got rid of Jared Goff. That's why they traded for Matthew Stafford. They got Matthew Stafford for this moment right here to win the Super Bowl, and that is why they're going to win.
Okay, I know how you feel about Matthew Stafford, so I'm not surprised by the answer. I'm not gonna hold my personal opinion, guys, towards you guys and your points. If you make a good point, you're gonna get the point. And because I see some people in the chat, feel free to let us know who you think wins each round, because I will take that into consideration. Let's move up and to the left. OJ, who you got? Who's winning? Why?
Matthew Stafford has done a hell of a job rewriting the narrative that Dub alluded to. He played very good, very well, grammar, against the Cardinals. He played pretty good against the Bucks, and he didn't have a terrible game against the 49ers. It wasn't terrific, but he's due for one of those games. He's 1,000% due for one of those games. And why not when the lights are brightest? Why not at home? Why not when he knows? Listen, guys, let's call it for what it is. The Bengals stumbled into this Super Bowl. They stumbled. They have no business there, but somehow they're here. Do you think they're going to have any pressure? Joe Burrow's facing Alabama. I don't give a damn about all that, Nick Saban. Watch this. He's going to have that same attitude come Super Bowl. Joe Burrow is not afraid of that moment, bro. The Bengals know they're the underdog. They're not supposed to win. They're gonna have no pressure, and Matthew Stafford is gonna have the pressure in the entire world behind him. And guess what? When he throws that pick to Jesse Bates, he will not drop it this time, unlike Tart or whatever the heck his name was for the 49ers. So I've been counting the Bengals out all off season, man. But now, finally, man, I'm gonna have to go against my intuition. I'm gonna say the Bengals, man, and the Bengals are gonna get it.
Okay. Jeff, I was saving the 2 49ers fans because I felt like the loss to the Rams might, you need more time to handle the sting. So who wins, and why?
It was a sting for the 49ers, and this is a testament to why the Bengals are going to win. And I'll second the hand that OJ said they got nothing to lose. That's definitely part of it. But the Rams are the ones who have stumbled into the Super Bowl. Let us not forget, we have these expectations for the Rams from the beginning of the year. They got Matthew Stafford to be here. They've had an up and down year. They're inconsistent, and all the pressure and expectation is on one team. They brought in Matthew Stafford. They brought in Von Miller. They've got expectations to win this thing. It's been that way. They've had everybody. Aaron Donald's got to redeem himself from the loss. It's literally all the pressure is on the Rams. And what do I have to show me that I can't have faith in it? And the Bengals, they came into the playoffs the hottest team in the league. Joe Burrow threw for like 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns the last 2 weeks of the season. They are just on absolute fire. They're the hottest team. And you can't tell me young quarterbacks don't win. Patrick Mahomes did it recently. Ben Roethlisberger's been there.
Sorry, what was his name?
Ben Schmergenberger. He retired recently.
Yeah.
And so we've had young quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, young quarterbacks that have stepped – and Joe Burrow is ready for that moment. Give me the Bengals.
Okay. Another 49ers fan, Matt, who hosts a 49er podcast. I'm curious to see who wins and why.
So this one definitely hurts because when the Bengals beat the Chiefs, right when that happened, I thought, okay, this is the Super Bowl. Whoever wins this team has a huge advantage in terms of their defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. And when you look at the Rams in this matchup, you can make the argument that the Rams have the best defensive line in the league. When you have Ashawn Robinson as your fourth guy on a D-line that also has 2 Hall of Famers on it, and another guy is a very, very good player in Leonard Floyd, you have to go with the Rams in this matchup. Now, I love Joe Burrow. I want Joe Burrow. I want Jamar Chase to ball out there, and I want them to win the Super Bowl. I am giving the Rams an 80% chance of winning this game, and
Wow.
I think this is one of the games where it's going to look ugly. We look back on that Titans game, and the Titans got 9 sacks on Joe Burrow. This Rams defense is a lot better, and the big difference in this one is the Titans have a pretty sorry secondary. For the Rams, yes, there's some inconsistencies at safety and in their linebacking core, but they get to go put Jalen Ramsey one-on-one with Jamar Chase every time. And if Jalen Ramsey is able to not even take him out of the game, but just contain Jamar Chase a little bit, it's going to be so difficult for the Bengals. And the big thing is the Bengals offense hasn't really looked that good in the postseason. They've had some big plays. They've got a lot of field goals, and they've, like we said, they've kind of snuck in here. I mean, they had a pretty, I wouldn't say easy schedule, but you go Raiders and Titans to start it out. That's pretty light for 2 playoff games. They've kind of snuck in here. And
Are we not giving them credit for beating the Chiefs?
Oh, I give them a ton of credit for beating the Chiefs. I mean, especially you beat the Chiefs twice, but you look at the other 2 games and it's just, they've had an easier time than a lot of the other teams. Okay. The Rams are one of the favorites coming into this year, and there's a reason, and they added Von Miller for these moments. I think it's gonna be maybe not a blowout, but I think that the Rams are going to control this game because their defense is going to suffocate Joe Burrow, unfortunately. I hope it's not true.
So it's really close. So what I want you to do, everybody, just give me one thing that has to happen. So OJ and Jeff picked the Bengals. Matt and Dub, you guys picked the Rams. So what's one thing? So is a quick point. One point that your team has to do to win, OJ.
Joe Burrow has to outplay Matthew Stafford.
Jeff.
I actually already have faith that's going to happen. Their defense needs to cause 2 turnovers.
The Bengals defense needs 2 turnovers.
That's right.
Okay, Matt.
Generate pressure on the defensive side of the ball.
Dub.
Matthew Stafford better not prove his doubters wrong and play and stink up the field. That's the main guy. That's the guy who's going to win it because I believe there's going to be pressure on the field with Aaron Donald, Von Miller. It's going to be a defensive game only if Matthew Stafford allows that.
Okay, so I've got OJ and Dub. You guys are in to the next round. Matt and Jeff. Here is the tiebreaker for you guys.
Niner fans can't catch a break.
It's we can't have too many Niner fans into the next round. So better all-around player. Moving to the NBA for the tiebreaker. Better all-around player. Joel Embiid or the Joker? Oh, I guess I should tell you who should go first. Matt, go first. Matt, you want to go first?
Sorry, I couldn't get it to unmute. So for this one, I'm going to have to side with Jokic on this one just because offensively, I think he provides a lot more. Now, this is not to slide Joel Embiid, but when you have a guy that can play all across like inside, outside, and he's a great passer, I think what we see is a center that's able to completely take over the game for the Denver Nuggets. And I think it's really, really hard, especially in today's NBA, to run your offense through a big man. And I think that Jokic does it better than probably any big man in the league. So I'm gonna have to go with Jokic on this one, just because I feel like he is the biggest player that impacts the game from the center position, and so I'm gonna have to go with him.
Okay, Jeff.
Matt, you're right in what you're saying, which makes you so wrong in your choice. Jokic is the best big man playmaker, but that makes him the most difficult center to play with. Guards have specialized roles, specialized skill sets. So playing with Embiid, he's a better match. The difference in Embiid and Jokic, the two top centers in the league, so it's a compliment to both. But we're talking about the difference in playmaking versus defense, because that's the difference in what they're bringing to the table. And I'm going to take a guy who's anchoring the defensive end as much as he's shouldering the load on the offensive end. Jokic, he's a more skilled and complete offensive player, but Embiid, he's the better overall player, and he's got a much higher ceiling.
Why does he have a higher ceiling?
Because he's still needing to get healthy. He hasn't even found a rhythm yet in his career. He's just getting there. When he's healthy, he was an MVP. He would have been MVP last year instead of Jokic had he stayed healthy. So he's still got that ways to go. Jokic, I don't know how much more of a defensive ceiling he's got.
The best answer came from the chat. Mythical, you're right. It's because of the great offense and amazing defense, which is more in line with Jeff's. Jeff lost half a point for saying Roethlisberger wrong, which is why he was in the tiebreak. And Matt lost that same half point by not being able to pronounce Jokic. So it's that close, guys, when we play these rounds. So, Matt, thank you very much for playing. Off we are to round number 2. We're going to stick in the NBA. Kyrie Irving has made his return to the Brooklyn Nets, but it's part-time. He's not able to play home games. He can play most away games, not all, depending on the state and their laws. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the Nets? Let's start with Dub this time. We haven't heard from you in a little bit.
What, that Kyrie Irving's playing away games?
Is it a good thing or a bad thing that he's playing part-time with the Nets? I know you didn't expect to be in the second round.
Ready
but it's listen, it's still an easy one. It's always beneficial when you have a player of Kyrie Irving's caliber, regardless of how much time he's playing. Now, I hear a bunch of people saying, "Oh, chemistry issues and this and that." The Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant and James Harden haven't showed you already. When you watch them play on court, everything that happens off court doesn't matter. I see Kyrie and James Harden play extremely well together, like nothing's causing their chemistry issues at all. They're playing off each other very well. Having Kyrie for a little bit of time is meaningful because you cannot replace talent on that team other than Kyrie Irving. You want to try to have Patty Mills in there, fill Kyrie Irving's shoes. Good luck with that. That's not going to happen, number one. Now, as far as the playoffs come, I think the Nets might just take that fine. Maybe take out of Kyrie's contract, take that fine, play the home games. But chemistry-wise, with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and KD, they're all close friends. They're all nice and nitpicked together. I don't see no chemistry issues between those guys at all. Their talent is way too great to lose together.
All right. Jeff, is it a good thing or bad thing having Kyrie in part-time?
Since when is inconsistency on your roster a good thing? Dub, you're talking about it and you don't want to acknowledge it. Like, they've only played 16 games together. They've been together for 2 seasons. Like, chemistry, Matt, it's been proven. The Miami Heat came together, loads of talent. Guess what? When it came to the finals, when it came to a team that can match up and have those adjustments, chemistry matters because it takes it to a different level. They've got all the talent. So that's going to mask the chemistry you think you're seeing. That's just all talent. Is that championship level? Teams win championships. So you dismissing the chemistry? I can't believe it. So yes, the chemistry matters, and not being consistently in the lineup.
So bad thing.
Terrible.
All right, OJ.
I disagree. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible for the reasons that Dub pointed out. And I'll actually take a step further and be a little bit more specific. This is a veteran locker room. These are veteran players, right? If it was a bunch of rookies and you're doing this, inconsistent, rosters, rotation changes, every other day, now you'd have a big issue. But they're vets and they're superstars. So the only difference is when Kyrie is playing, James Harden's probably not going to dominate the ball as much, and when Kyrie's out, Harden's probably going to dominate the ball a little bit more. At the end of the day, you have an all-star caliber player that can give you 25 with his eyes closed. That's never a bad thing. And let's not act like the Nets offense is this super complex offense, kind of like the Golden State Warriors, where there's supreme ball movement. They go through Kevin Durant, and they kind of, a lot of it is improvisation through James Harden. He sees who's open, and they go from there. It's not super complex. And because of the simplicity of their offense, it allows for them to make this decision with Kyrie and have him play on the road and not at home.
Okay. So I'm a big proponent of chemistry. I hate the fact that he's only playing part-time. I don't think it's good for the team. So Jeff, you are on to the next round. OJ and Dub. So just one thing I want to point out, Dub, because you had mentioned pay the fine. I don't know if you're aware, the NBA has an agreement with their teams that they will not do that under any circumstances. Well, they just pay the fine, which is why they haven't done it thus far in the season, because they could have done that from day one. So I know some people have put it out there that, that just makes the most sense. Yeah, of course, they thought about that. So they actually can't do that. Maybe they'll fight it come playoff time, but as for the regular season, they're not allowed to do that. So here's a tiebreaker for you two guys who made the wrong choice. And we're going to go. Yes, yeah. If you disagree, it's the wrong choice. This one, we're going back to football. And you know what? Maybe we should have had a 49er. Actually, maybe it's good that we don't have a 49er in this question, because there's a 49er in the question. Trey Lance or Justin Fields? You're starting a franchise today. Who's your quarterback and why? OJ.
I'll be completely honest with you. No one here has seen enough of either of them in the pro level to basically have a really comprehensive opinion. Yeah, you've seen it. You've probably seen Justin Fields start more games, but he's looked terrible. But, all things considered, I think Trey Lance is the better quarterback. And for one reason, when I look at how they are in the pocket, Trey Lance simply seems more poised. Now, granted, his O-line is a lot better than the Bears' O-line, but that's one of the biggest things I look for a rookie quarterback. I don't necessarily care about arm strength, accuracy, all that crap. That can come later, but how poised are you? And how poised are you tells me how slow the game is for you. It tells me how able you're able to do your read progressions. It tells me how you're able to effectively do your pre-snap reads. All of these things is indicative of how poised you are. And to me, it's not even close. Trey Lance, from the little that I've seen him, he looks a lot more poised than Justin Fields. And if you're a 49ers fan, that's a very good indication of good things to come.
All right, Dub?
So it's funny. Me and Bolster Sports talked about this earlier. What is it? I'm going with Trey Lance, and not for the reasons that OJ mentioned. Main reasons, one of the most important things, Fluent likes knocking people for this, but actually seeing somebody actually recognizing the ins and outs of the football game, not being on the field and actually learning a game from a sideline standpoint really helps a quarterback's development. You get to see the flaws with the other quarterback, the mistakes that made, and you get to see the good things that they made. And so you could take away with their flaws and add on to your own with their benefits. He was behind Jimmy G. They went to the NFC Championship. Jimmy G is very underrated because, of course, he cannot beat you with his arm, but he does do a good job of managing the game for his team. He does have a good job of putting the team in the right positions to win. Trey Lance could take that into his mind and apply that to his own level of play. See, little things like that where you're sitting on the sideline, you get to learn from a secondhand experience, and you won't have to just go out there on the field like a Trevor Lawrence and learn it amongst yourself. You get to see other guys in that experience and learn from their experience and add that to your own. Things like that is so irreplaceable. So that is the main reason. On top of that, he's just on a better team. Fluent, I'm sorry. The Bears is I'm sorry, bro. The Bears is just, sorry. But he's on a better team. They went to the MC Championship. Jimmy G, he got that experience with Jimmy G to see the ins and outs, the flaws, the benefits that he's had and add that to his own. I would start with him based on that and based off of his potential.
So you're wrong about one thing, Dub. Well, two things because you picked Trey Lance. But the other thing was that I don't like it. I actually like quarterbacks sitting and watching for a couple of years. I actually think that every quarterback should almost be forced.
Especially when it's behind the QB savant Garoppolo, right? So yeah.
No, maybe better quarterback than that.
Then why you always arguing? Why you always bringing that up?
I think it did. I say Patrick Mahomes was fortunate that he got to sit behind a quality quarterback like Alex Smith. The one thing and the reason why OJ is not making it to the next round, however, is because you said you don't care about arm strength or accuracy, which are like the two most important. You absolutely said when looking at a rookie quarterback. That's what I heard. So because of that, and I will say this, OJ was wrong, Dub was wrong, and Mythical, who appreciates my content, so we love you, Mythical, in the chat. He also picked Trey Lance. So you're all wrong. It's Justin Fields, but I got to pick one of you. So Dub, you are going into the final round against Jeff. And it's a beautiful thing because it's your man crush in the final question. Is Patrick Mahomes' legacy, Patrick Mahomes' legacy already in question since you have quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen? The AFC is loaded with good young quarterbacks. And can he and the Chiefs continue to win with so much competition? Because it's not just the Bengals this year. It's going to get harder next year because just in his division now, he's going to have, I don't know what Derek Carr and the Raiders are going to do, but Josh McDaniels might make them better. He's got Justin Herbert. There's talks about Aaron Rodgers going to the Broncos. That division gets really hard. Again, Josh Allen and others. So I'm going to start with Jeff. Mahomes' legacy and the Chiefs, if they're in this really tough conference in the AFC, are they going to be able to keep winning? And will that affect his legacy?
If you're top dog, you'll keep winning. And Patrick Mahomes is a top dog. His legacy is not in question. It's not shaky. It's everybody else in that conference that we should be shaking in their boots, that they got to go up against the Chiefs. He does have that big contract. He's going to be there, and they're going to build around him. You're going to tell me guys in free agency aren't going to be like, hey, Mahomes throwing me the ball might be a good idea. Like, there's going to be guys willing to go to Kansas City with Reed and Mahomes. That's a fun franchise. They're a dominant franchise, and they've just come off 4 conference championship games. They've already got a Super Bowl to their name, and he's just getting started.
Before I let Dub answer, you said, but they're going to have a big contract now to pay Patrick Mahomes. They might not have money for those free agents, and they're trending in the wrong direction. They went win Super Bowl, lose AFC Championship, and now they're going to start losing some pieces. Keep that in mind. Dub, go ahead.
His legacy is not in question. Number one, we can't tell the future. Number two, this man went to 4 AFC Championship games, back-to-back Super Bowls. His legacy is not in question at all. Now, if the way that you want to say the way he lost was bad, I agree with you 100%. Now, in terms of the competition in the AFC, I agree. It's a lot of teams, and people forget about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and what those guys could do as well. The AFC is going to be stacked, and it's going to be a great thing to see for the NFL. It's going to be a phenomenal thing. But they put it like this, Fluent. Can you imagine with all that competition that the Kansas City Chiefs actually still win? That they still be winning and they're still going to the Super Bowl? Things like that, bro, it's like I don't like trying to tell the future because we don't know. I don't know, Fluent. So I don't think his legacy is in question just because of the talent that's going to be coming in the AFC. Because, listen, Chiefs are going to be there. Chiefs are going to be there for a long time, regardless of that contract issue. There's going to be guys to work their contract around in order to want to play with Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is that caliber of quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes could draw talent to himself. And let's not forget the talent gap. The talent gap in the NFL is not that far from each other, and you and Bama beat this into my brain so many times. They could find that undrafted rookie like Cooper Kupp or Adam Thielen. They could find some guys like that to maybe not live up to what Tyreek Hill is, but they could find substantial pieces to replace those. At the end of the day, they got Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback, most talented quarterback in the NFL today. And I don't see why there's need to be worried, honestly.
So you're not even a little bit worried considering, listen, you're right. If the Chiefs continue to go to multiple Super Bowls, right, then I think you're right. I think it adds to their legacy because the teams are so tough. But based on what we're seeing, there's been a lot of quarterbacks who, their first 4 years were really good, and then we thought they were going to be great, and then they just never, I think Aaron Rodgers, I know that he sat for a few years. His fourth year, won a Super Bowl, was an MVP, never went back again. And I think that hurt his legacy. So that's my question. So I'm going to ask here, OJ and Matt, and Mythical, because you've been so active in the chat. I want you to give me your vote as well. Do you got Jeff or Dub, OJ? Jeff. Matt, Jeff or Dub? You're on mute, so you're gonna. And Mythical, tell me in the chat if you pick Jeff or Dub. Jeff is on top, Dub is down at the bottom. Sorry, Matt, can you try again? I didn't hear you. All right. Well, then I have to make my final decision. Okay, let me ask you this. This will be my tiebreaker question that I just made up. Who is their biggest competition in the AFC? Because are we going to see like a Patriot-like dominance from the Chiefs? Start with you, Dub.
The biggest competition is the Bengals, man. The Bengals just beat them. I feel as if they beat them due to the complacency to the Chiefs, a lack of respect for the Bengals, and the Bengals really ran with that momentum. But the Bengals have so much cap space, bro. So much, and they have a young team, and for at least 2, 3, or 4 years before they're gonna have to pay guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow, even Joe Mixon. They're gonna be able to stack up on some offensive linemen, and the way that defense has been playing this year, I didn't expect that they had it in them, bro. The Bengals they're the top dogs, bro. Besides
Jeff?
the Chiefs, they are the top dogs.
Who's their biggest competition in the AFC?
They're a talented bunch, and they're there. I could see why the Bengals would be a sexy pick, but they have been a pretty irrelevant franchise, relatively speaking. So I'm not going to be worried about the Bengals long term. I am looking at Herbert and the Chargers and seeing, like, with the development that he can have as an outstanding quarterback. The Ravens are also right there. The reason I can't pick a team, I guess, is because Chiefs are top dog. They're the ones that everybody's chasing right now. But I do have faith in the Ravens being able to build something and be competitive, and I do have faith in the Chargers. Both those teams I'm picking before what Dub just said.
All right, well, we got 2 votes. The chat and OJ are on Jeff. Matt?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, and then I'll make my final judgment.
I'm gonna have to go with Jeff because the tiebreaker on that one.
Jeff as well. So Jeff has the clean sweep, which means next week Jeff will be our host, and he now gets his 30 seconds of fame.
He's been dominant lately.
I'm excited about this 30 seconds because I've been thinking about the stupid All-Star game and Andrew Wiggins being a starter. NBA, this is for you. I guess I got my close-up on this one. NBA, this is for you. Go positionless already. The All-Star game in the All-NBA format needs to be positionless. It's ridiculous. And you know the crazy thing is, Andrew Wiggins got in because there was limited depth at that position. So it totally sucks. It's totally lame. Nobody cares about it anymore. And quite honestly, it's messing with guys' legacies. When people are having these conversations, ridiculous. Time to fix it, NBA.
So let's end with a question then for the group, because didn't they change it? Isn't it front court? Couldn't they have voted in 2 centers?
They could have.
Couldn't Cat have been there?
Sure could have.
Or someone else more deserving? So do you think it has more
Luka
to do?
Doncic.
Well, Luka Doncic's a guard, so he wouldn't have been able to make it in with the front court.
No, I'm saying that's why it should be positionless.
Oh, so you're saying just forget it, just say, hey, whoever the top 5 vote getters are, regardless of position, those are your 5 starters, even if it's 5 point guards.
100%. Yeah, no. You're always going to have to at least need a big man or some forwards. I mean, listen, it's not going to be 5 point guards.
No, listen, the likelihood that it happens is rare. But what I'm saying is I'm giving you the worst case scenario. Top 5 or 5 point guards, that's who you start. And then the coaches and whoever pick the reserves, and they just pick all big men because they already have 5 point guards?
But that's a terrible thing to do because I don't see the likelihood of that happening ever. So I don't feel the need to answer that question. Now, to say that people, all their legacies in question for their All-Star game, Jeff, I disagree. This is why you don't pay attention to things like that. This is why you don't pay attention to MVPs and you don't pay attention to all MVP and
Are
all
we going to
NBA
get
teams
into it right
sometimes.
now?
I'm just saying that's
Are we
why
going to get into it
everything-
right now?
Maybe
everything is narrative.
It
based and
absolutely does
everything-
affect their legacy because guess what? When
No, it
people
does not.
He
20
stole
years down
an
the road,
all-star spot from a guy.
instead of
This-
10-time All-Star, it could have been 12-time or it could have been 7-time.
this is why you
Yeah,
don't
it
pay
absolutely
attention to
does
that.
Impact
That's
their
why
legacy.
it doesn't. That's why it's not concrete. That's why you can't
Yeah.
say a guy.
I was with you. I was with you, Dub. I was with you, Dub, when you said we shouldn't look at All-Star, but when you threw in MVPs and other things,
Absolutely.
no, accolades matter.
MVPs,
Now they don't
Well,
weigh as
accolades
much,
matter,
but
man. Accolades is your
accolades
resume.
absolutely
There's an
do matter.
extent to how much weight
Accolades
they
do matter.
carry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that's been it for this edition of Table for One. There can only be one winner, and this week it was Jeff. Next week he'll be the host, and we'll be back.
By the way, I just have to say this. Patrick Mahomes is an absolute choke artist, and the notion that he's top
That's
5 already in the
disrespectful.
NFL is an absolute
That's disrespectful.
Hey, we're cutting you off.